Jason Bourne, a name that evokes images of relentless chases, high-stakes action, and the ultimate spy with a hidden past. But beneath the surface of this thrilling figure lies a deeply complex man. David Webb, a man caught between the fragments of his forgotten life and the dangerous persona he's forced to embrace. In today's biography, we won't be diving into the explosive action scenes that Bourne is known for. Instead, we're exploring the mind, the history, and the heart of the character that defined a new era of spy thrillers, as written by Robert Ludlum in his iconic trilogy, The Bourne Identity, The Bourne Supremacy, and The Bourne Ultimatum. This is not a story of just one man on the run, but a tale of survival, identity, and the cost of living in the shadows. Join us as we uncover the journey from David Webb to Jason Bourne, the man who constantly battles his past while confronting the dangers of his present. Whether you're a fan of the books or someone intrigued by the mystery of Bourne's life, this deep dive will give you new insights into the man behind the assassin. Now let's begin at the start. Long before Jason Bourne became the most wanted man in the world. Before Bourne, David Webb's early life. Long before Jason Bourne, there was David Webb. Born into a normal, peaceful life, David Webb seemed destined for a future far removed from the chaos that would later define him. An intelligent, driven man, Webb initially built his career as a Foreign Service officer, stationed in Southeast Asia during the Vietnam War. His expertise in Far Eastern affairs allowed him to serve with distinction, navigating political landscapes with precision. But even during these early years, hints of darkness began to form around his life. Webb had built a family, a loving wife and 2 children, living a peaceful existence in Cambodia. However, this idyllic life would be shattered in a single cruel moment. In the heat of the Vietnam War, an errant airstrike tore through the small Cambodian village where Webb's family lived, killing them instantly. This loss would set the stage for the birth of a man who would later be known as Jason Bourne. David Webb, devastated by grief, walked away from the life he once knew. He left behind his career, his identity, and any hope of returning to normalcy. His world was one of rage and despair, and the man who would emerge from this tragedy would be unrecognizable. In the shadows of his former life, a new one would soon take shape. Operation Treadstone. With the devastation of his family still haunting him, David Webb became an easy target for covert agencies looking for highly skilled, broken individuals who could be molded into something far more lethal. Enter Operation Treadstone, a top-secret CIA Black Ops program that sought to create an assassin unlike any other. Webb was recruited and trained to become a phantom operative, one who would operate outside the law, his existence erased from all records. But this was no ordinary training. Webb was transformed, both physically and mentally, into a man who could navigate the most dangerous corners of the world without a trace. His memories of the past were buried under layers of psychological conditioning, leaving him to adopt a new identity, Jason Bourne. It was a name chosen not just for its anonymity, but for its flexibility, a man who could slip into any situation, any country, and disappear as quickly as he appeared. Treadstone's purpose was simple: eliminate high-level targets without a trail, and Jason Bourne was assigned one of the most dangerous tasks of all: to take down Carlos the Jackal, a notorious international assassin. Bourne was to become the bait, the lure that would flush out Carlos and allow the CIA to neutralize him. But in becoming Bourne, Webb's very identity began to fracture. He was no longer the man he once was, yet he wasn't fully Jason Bourne either. This psychological duality would come to define his every action moving forward. The CIA had created their perfect weapon, a man who didn't even know who he was. But the cost of becoming Jason Bourne would be immense. Webb's fractured psyche, combined with the ruthless missions he was sent on, would blur the line between friend and foe, sanity and madness. The Bourne Identity. Our story truly begins when Jason Bourne is pulled from the Mediterranean Sea, barely alive, with no memory of who he is or how he got there. Struggling with amnesia, Bourne wakes up in a small coastal town, with only a few cryptic clues to his identity. A microfilm surgically embedded in his hip, a Swiss bank account number, and an intense instinct for survival. These clues set him on a dangerous path as he tries to uncover the truth about himself. Bourne quickly realizes he is no ordinary man. His reflexes are razor-sharp, his instincts lethal, and his intuition uncanny. But with every step he takes toward unraveling his identity, shadowy figures seem to follow, hell-bent on eliminating him. Bourne is being hunted, not just by assassins, but by government agencies across Europe. He is a man marked for death, with no understanding of why. In Zurich, Bourne finds himself at the heart of a conspiracy far greater than he could have imagined. Accessing his Swiss bank account reveals more than just a fortune. It reveals multiple passports under different aliases, all connected to Jason Bourne. But who is Bourne? What has he done to deserve this kind of international manhunt? Amidst this chaos, Bourne crosses paths with Marie Saint-Jacques, a Canadian economist, who becomes an unexpected ally. At first, she is just another pawn in Bourne's quest for answers, but their relationship quickly deepens as she helps him navigate the treacherous world he finds himself in. Together, they uncover a sinister plot centered around Carlos the Jackal, the man Bourne was trained to eliminate. Yet, the line between hunter and hunted blurs, as Bourne realizes he might be as dangerous as those chasing him. The climax of the Bourne Identity brings Bourne face to face with his darkest fears. Has he truly become a killer? The confrontation with Carlos remains elusive, but Bourne begins to piece together fragments of his past, understanding that he is both the weapon and the target. The struggle for his identity is far from over, but one thing is clear. Jason Bourne is more than just a name. It's a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. Let's now continue with the summary of the Bourne Supremacy, where Bourne is forced back into the dangerous world he thought he had escaped. The Bourne Supremacy. After the events of the Bourne Identity, Jason Bourne, now living as David Webb, has settled into a quiet life with Marie in the anonymity of their island hideaway. For a brief moment, peace seems within reach, but that tranquility is shattered when a deadly new player enters the scene. A man posing as Jason Bourne begins assassinating political figures across Asia, reigniting the legend of the rogue assassin. Bourne, who wanted nothing more than to leave his violent past behind, is dragged back into the world he sought to escape. Marie is kidnapped and Bourne is given an ultimatum. Either eliminate a high-profile target in Hong Kong or Marie will be killed. With no other choice, Bourne once again becomes the weapon Treadstone created, stepping into the deadly game he thought he had left behind. As Bourne chases his imposter across Asia, a deeper conspiracy begins to unfold. The man masquerading as Bourne is part of a larger plot involving high-level officials, corrupt intelligence agencies, and political intrigue. Bourne's quest for revenge turns into a fight for survival, as he must unravel who is pulling the strings behind this deadly charade. Throughout the pursuit, Bourne's mental struggle continues. He is haunted by the memory of his real identity, David Webb, but is constantly forced to become Jason Bourne to protect those he loves. This duality weighs heavily on him, as he questions whether he can ever escape the assassin within him. In Hong Kong, Bourne confronts his imposter and the shadowy forces that orchestrated the plot. The climactic showdown is not just a battle for his survival, but a confrontation with the ghosts of his past. The assassin posing as Bourne is eliminated, and Marie is rescued, but the cost of this victory is steep. David Webb's hope for a peaceful life is once again shattered, as he realizes the world will never let Jason Bourne disappear. Bourne is left to wonder if he can ever reclaim his true identity, or if he is doomed to forever live in the shadows of the persona created for him. The battle for his soul continues, as he navigates the blurred lines between David Webb and Jason Bourne. Final remarks. Jason Bourne's story is one of relentless pursuit, not just by the enemies that chase him, but by his own fractured identity. From David Webb, a man shaped by tragedy, to the legendary assassin created by Treadstone, Bourne has constantly battled against forces determined to control or destroy him. Across 3 novels, we see him struggle to break free from the life imposed upon him, even as the lines between who he is and who he was continue to blur. But perhaps the true essence of Jason Bourne lies not in the action-packed scenes of his survival, but in the quieter moments of introspection. A man shaped by grief and loss, who constantly seeks to reclaim his own life while caught in a web of lies and conspiracies. Bourne's journey reminds us that even the most skilled and dangerous individuals are human at their core, haunted by their pasts, desperate for redemption. As we close this chapter on Jason Bourne's life, we are left with the question: can anyone truly escape the shadows of their past? Or does the price of survival come with a cost too high to bear? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the life and complexities of Jason Bourne, the man behind the assassin. If you enjoyed this exploration, don't forget to subscribe for more in-depth character biographies and leave your thoughts in the comments. How do you think Bourne's journey will ultimately end? Let's continue the conversation.